never called us stupid. You went and bought us some donuts, and they totally switched.
It had nothing to do with the donut.
It had nothing to do with
donuts. That's right. But some people, they can't see that. You got to bridge this gap.
Right.
You got to think like they think.
So
What is it that motivates?
So I've been doing that for 15 years. She sometimes goes and gets stuff for me and just bring it.
But Sheila also had a comment.
Yes, I did. Talking about Alfred, I mean, not trying to give him, swell his head up, but when you have two people that has retired in this area since we've been here, two of his employees that has retired, and then they came and brought us dinner. I mean, and then the sister, one of the twins, lay him off. Okay, the twin that lived in Utah, she actually came up to actually meet him, and then they wanted to have dinner with us. That was, one lady, and then there was another man that had retired, or Alfred laid him off, and they fixed dinner for us, and I was like, this is kind of weird now, I was like, okay. But they both said the same thing. They said they never had anyone to stand up for them in business, where there was right or whatever, I don't know because I don't know nothing about out there to the plant, but they were saying his personality, they just could not believe.
Well, these are the types of things that build respect.
Yes.
And you see it. And to have respect for a person, again, you see how far it goes. I mean, you can run your business. You can fire someone. You can lay someone off.
And they was happy.
But it's how you do it, and how, to be honest with a person and say, well, I really would love to keep you, but unfortunately finances are at stake where we just cannot do this. And we'll do the things that are necessary to try to help you and your family, but you lay them off. Or you have to cut somebody loose. But that doesn't mean you hate somebody. It doesn't mean that when you woke up this morning, I'm going to fire somebody. I'm going to go in. You know what? Joe, I tell you, that was the last straw. You finally said something to me.
I got an excuse. I got a reason.
But people respond to how you do things. But again, that's where conversity and diversity come into play. How you talk to people, because sometimes you have to lay someone off, and I see this often in business, where a person is laid off, and because they are a different color, automatically they think that it's because I'm black, or I'm Hispanic, or I'm this, or I'm that, and it's not necessarily true. Sometimes the business has to make business decisions. I'm in a business, I got to make business decisions. Sometimes I got to make a business decision. This is a business decision. And it happens, but it's how you do it. How you go about it. There's nothing else ever said. And the people respect you, and there's honor in how you take care of business. You just don't pink slip, see you, have a good life. There's something wrong with that paradigm.
It is.
And that's one of the things about understanding similarities. If I know that, Susan has a house and bills, but the business just can't retain. I respect those similarities and do what I can so that she understands this is not personal, it's business. And that's what happens in the way people lay people off and they fire people. It becomes personal. And that's what we try to.
That's the unwritten paradigm I was going through. That's a company. Okay, in the business world, they expect you to give them a 2-week notice if you decide to leave the company. That's right. But they are not going to give you a notice. They're going to walk in today and says, guess what? Don't bother turning the computer on. We letting you go today. You totally disrupt that person's whole world. But you don't have to give them any planning, any warning. The company knew way before yesterday that they had to get rid of 50 people. So why did you plan it and send those people to set up some community stuff, start planning some stuff, letting them know what's happening. How can you plan for this? But that's what I think the business world they messed up on for a lot of years.
That's right.
And
that's right.
The customer started responding to that. The customer says, okay, if that's the way you're going to treat me, then I'm going to do the same thing back to you.
That's right.
And so we've been losing businesses because people said that that's the way you run your business. Okay, then I won't deal with you anymore. Or I've seen where you get a contract for something, you've done all your work, you bought a bunch of stuff, supplies, you got to put those pieces together. The guy comes back to you and says, oh, by the way, forget it, I'm canceling that contract.
One of the biggest issues that we have in business, and we have in all levels of operation, is the long-term aspect of one thought.
Right.
Today, we may all be working in the company. Tomorrow, we may be a customer of the company.
Right.
And if I used to work for you and talk bad about you,
yeah.
what am I going to say to other people who now come to me and ask, should I do business with X? Right. Well, you know, the way they treated me, you know? Yeah. And so that goes to this idea of the so what? You know, why is it important to have these conversations about diversity and conversity? It's exactly why we have workshops. It's how do you build teams? How do you build things that are beneficial to the organization if you don't have these types of discussions? How do you, when we start back looking at customers, you know, when you start looking at overemphasizing the differences in your employees, you really begin to start overemphasizing the differences in your customers. You know, that's what happens. You actually start seeing a gap between the people that work for you and the people you're actually trying to get your product to. Because the people that work for you, if you can't satisfy the people that work for you, you're not going to satisfy the customer. That's a fact. The people that work for you aren't even going to be helpful to help you understand the cultures that you're now trying to reach and the people that you're trying to go out to, because they don't see any benefit to it. This company, and I've heard people say, yeah, you know what, yeah, I work for company X, but you know, that's a racist company. You ought to see some of the things or hear some of the things that go on behind closed doors. You know what? If they're saying that to you, they're saying that to other people. They're saying that to friends and family. And you know what? If they say it to friends and family are going to go out and say the same thing to their friends and family. You know, my dad said, my mama said, you know, my friend said, you don't want to do business with that company. Yeah. And all of a sudden, the CEO can't understand, why are we not getting businesses? Well, because the base has eroded. People have got the word out about your company, and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
You don't know because of issues like this, you know? And that's what happens. But when a business believes it's just, hey, we're up here, that kind of stuff doesn't happen. We're selling a product. After a while, there's these little corrosive factors that just start eating away at the business, and eventually it's no longer business. You know?
I think my dad is 92, and he said, I mean, he been saying a lot of things, and it's amazing how it comes back to what we were saying. And it's not negative for any companies, but just something he tells me. He did it the last time I was home, back in March. He said that if a company has to, for example, you see a lot of the companies have to put out a vehicle, and that vehicle is totally painted, you know, the advertising the whole company and all this kind of stuff. He told me, he said, if you got to do that, stay away from it. He said, if they have got to go to that extent to advertise, then they really ain't got no business.
There's something to that.
There's something wrong, because he said that the real business, the word gets out from your expense and your product shows for itself. That spreads much faster than you trying to put on a perception that you are a big old company because you got this money to put into all this advertising. And it weighs on me. He keeps saying things like that just from what he saw all those years of his life. And he says, he said, that ain't gonna last long.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And that's very perceptive on his part. Right. You know, and you think about it, but it's those small things that start weighing on the company, that start eating away at the base.
Right.
Yes, sir.
One of the things you were just talking about, the corrosiveness of an individual within a company. Over the years, you'll see where, this word came up when you start talking diversity, they threw another word out there, quota.
Quotas.
Oh, yeah.
Quota. So here, and maybe Alfred knows where there were cases, I've seen this, where the person hired this person. Well, you really don't have the skills we need, but you don't have it, but you're black, you're a woman, so they can be hired.
That's right.
They hire that person, what do you think that person's gonna do from that day on? Because they had to hire me, it's like, they give you all this list of things why they don't want you as an employee, but the last part is, well, we gotta hire you because you're in this category. And yet, they think, as you say, when they see other people, they're gonna promote them. They're gonna promote the company. Of course they aren't.
Right.
They start off with the wrong premise. And, a lot of them are starting to get away from the stated quota, but they still have it.
Quotas was one of the worst terms to ever come into the business market.
Yeah.
You understand it from the MBA perspective, meeting quotas, because it's performance and it's dollars and cents. But when it came to people, when you had to fill a space because of a quota, you're not filling because you have a sincere desire to change the company, to meet a changing marketplace. It's not about that. That's not what quota was about. Quota was about filling a hole with a person just because you got to have a requirement to do so. And it messed up the marketplace. It messed up how people perceived your experience. Your experience, my experience. All of a sudden, I didn't get there because I have the education and the experience. I got there because I filled a quota. It's a derogatory concept that was implemented in the business industry, and it did more harm than it did anything else. It got people's feet in the door, but at what cost? And today, even in the marketplace, people are still throwing those concepts away. The only reason you're here is because of quotas. We don't even talk about quotas anymore. We don't talk about that in the workplace. But people still are locked in their head and it's a shame. It's a shame. But those are perceptions instead of reality. It is what it is.
Yeah, I think so many things we lost, a couple of things we've seen. I mean, I just kind of sit back from reception and watch some of the big company executives that own companies and their kids. And what I saw over the previous years was they told that child, you won't get this company and you won't be the CEO or president of this company unless you go to school and get your degree in that area. Okay? That was their statement, and they stuck to it. If you thought that you was going to automatically inherit this, you won't. Well, to me, I saw that totally switched. Everybody's like, I'm entitled. And so, as companies, we've lost that we've trained the people to move through the different positions and get to it so they understand what it takes to do that job. So as a boss, as a leader, if I come in there and says, I need you to do this, okay, I can't tell you to have it done by tomorrow if I know it takes 3 days because I used to do that. Well, people have totally lost that perspective.
That's right.
As companies come in and say, hey, I realized I should have told you this